Welcome, Stefani.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to chat with you.
Okay, and I just love, I already said this, but I'm saying it again on the record, that we're both wearing matching colors and matching lipstick. I mean, come on. It was meant to be.
Of course, we're totally in sync. I love it.
Yes. All right, we have so much to talk about, and first of all, did you have fun? Let's talk about that. Was Expo West fun? It was your first time, right?
It was my second time.
Okay.
And I've been to, they used to do Expo East,
Yes.
which was like a smaller version on the East Coast. So I've been to that a bunch.
Yeah.
But it was my second time. I love it. It's like my Super Bowl.
Right.
It's an incredible party. And you really get to not just spot the trends, but also try the latest products.
Yes.
Every brand is usually unveiling something new, and you see lots of good friends. So it was a great time.
Yeah, I kind of experience a little FOMO, but I've never gone. I've only gone to the East Coast one. Anyway, one of these days I'll make it to the West Coast. All right, so much to discuss. And I mean, I wanted to have this conversation because I feel like a lot of these new products are either going to be like, wow, this is exciting for the consumer, or it's going to be, what the hell are they thinking? So, yeah. Okay, so here we go. First one, and you tell me, I mean, I think, because again, I wasn't there, but I know we discussed that this is kind of maybe what you saw there. But if it wasn't, you'll of course say, Nat, I didn't even see it. Anyway, question number one. Products with colostrum, and we'll probably have to tell my listener what colostrum is, but products with colostrum were touted there. I mean, they were, as I understand, a lot of products. And I'm curious, one, what is it? Two, what's even driving this hype? And honestly, is there any science to even support it? All right, go.
Yes. Well, first off, I think you have your pulse very accurately on the trends. I really do. And a lot of what you see on social media is present at the show, right? There's just, it's in an amplified way, if that makes sense.
Right.
So colostrum, especially since I just had my second child, and I'm still nursing, it's very relevant to my life right now.
Wait, hold on, Stephanie, hold on 1 second.
Yes.
Darian, since we signed back in, is Stephanie too loud? Okay, sorry.
You think so?
Sorry to interrupt. I was just, it's loud on my end, and I just want to make sure it's not too loud.
I can make it lower.
No,
Should I try and make it lower?
Darian can do that. You don't need to do anything unless she tells you to. Okay. All right. Okay, fine. Okay, so sorry, I got us off track, so I'm going to start again.
Yeah.
All right, so question number one is, products with colostrum were touted at Expo West. So what is colostrum? What's actually driving this hype? And is there any science to even support it? Go.
I love that you're asking, what is it, right? Because there's so many trends, everyone's talking about it. No one really knows what it is, okay? You know, I have 2 children. My youngest one, I'm still nursing him, so it's very relevant to my life right now. But it's that first early form of breast milk that's released after giving birth. So it's super thick, it's yellow, it's so concentrated, and it's so nutrient dense. It's really high in antibodies, antioxidants. It essentially establishes your baby's immunity, right? Their newborn immunity. Here's the thing about colostrum. I like to look at things just from a logical perspective, right? How is it intended in nature? It changes to breast milk within 2 to 4 days after your baby is born. 2 to 4 days. That means that a 6-month-old should not be having colostrum. That means especially a 30, 40, 50, 60-year-old.
Oh, really? You think? Wait, we're not
should not be having colostrum.
Right, we should not be drinking it. But here's the thing too. Okay, so it's out there because people are like, oh my God, it's the super, I'm going to put food. I mean, it's a beverage. All right, super beverage. It has all these antioxidants. It's great for your immunity. First of all, where are we getting it from? Aren't we getting it from the cow, first of all? Let's just...
Bovine.
Okay,
yep.
So it's bovine. So not that, I mean, hey, I'm pro cows. But we're getting it from the cow. and then they're doing whatever they're doing with it. And have there been studies to support that taking the bovine milk, am I using the term correctly?
Bovine colostrum. Yeah.
Bovine colostrum, that we're going to see any benefit in anything other than a newborn?
Great question. Very few studies. They're all newer. I mean, any research I've seen on it is like 2020, now, and it's very small sample sizes. There's no really established evidence. There's no established dosage as well, which is the most important thing.
Well, here's
right?
my question. What are they actually, so when you saw it in products, what kind of products?
Yeah, so it's in pills, powder form.
Okay.
And the thing about that, about the supplement space, right? Of course. It's kind of the Wild West, so you have to look at quality control
Right.
as well. Okay. But ultimately, how I look at it is, you're getting this concentrated source of nutrients the first few days after birth. There's a reason why your body is not supposed to have that afterwards. Like, who knows if that could be hyperstimulating a pathway? Who knows if this ultra concentrated, source of nutrients is going to maybe cause some potential harm. We just don't
Right.
know,
We don't
right?
know.
Especially from a bovine source, it's too new.
Right.
So even though it's been around for, centuries, right? Colostrum's been around forever, but to take it and put it into a pill, I also think to myself, when it's coming in its packaged form from the mother to the infant, there's so much nutrient synergy there, right? And there's even all this research about your baby's saliva on the breast, just to get scientific,
Right. No,
right?
there's-
There's all this incredible stuff.
There's so many other factors, and now they're just isolating it and putting it in a pill. So you didn't see it in any beverages, you didn't see it in any snack foods, at least not yet. So you just saw it in
mostly
the supplement
supplement
space.
form.
All right. So on that one, I think we agree. Maybe it's a pass. Love to see more research, of course. Research is great.
Yep.
But at this point, no for any colostrum. Okay. This one I think makes us happy, but as with anything, can get a little too much, maybe. Pulses are appearing in everything, from pasta to snacks. And are we now seeing a real shift towards plant-based eating? Or is this just another short-lived trend and everyone's just jumping on the bandwagon really quickly, and that's as far as it's not going to go really nowhere?
I think the pulses trend is here to stay. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, but I think we started to see it years ago in pastas, and now we're seeing it in pizzas, and we're seeing it in waffles and puffs.
Stephanie, what can we tell, again, my listener who might not know, what is a pulse?
Yes.
I think it gets confusing.
Absolutely. So it's basically the seeds of legumes. So think dry peas, lentils, chickpeas, beans, right? So, of course, those things are great in their whole food form, but then we're seeing it put into different packaged goods like lentil pasta, chickpea rice, right? Puffs, waffles, the sky's the limit. So it probably is a little bit of overload. Kind of what my perspective is on it is, first of all, obviously these things are really high fiber, so incorporate them slowly into your diet.
See,
right?
that was going to be my question. So we know pulses, which include legumes, beans, just to again be clear. These foods provide a lot of fiber, but just because they're now put into a packaged good doesn't mean that the fiber comes along with it. It could be stripped of some of that fiber in the processing. True or false?
Absolutely. There's certain things, if you look at like a pure chickpea pasta, one ingredient, that should have a decent amount of fiber, right? But this was going to go to my other point. You're spot on. Look at the other ingredients. Is it, sugar with a side of pulses? Is it salt with a side of pulses, right? Sometimes they'll say lentil puffs, and you look at it and the first couple ingredients are rice flour and some other things, and then lentils is towards the end.
Right.
And the ingredient list goes by weight, as you know. So absolutely look at the whole package and make sure you're getting something nutritious that's not going to be just empty calories.
So did you see this then besides the puffs? Would you say you saw the incorporation of pulses in a lot of snack foods mostly?
Yeah, definitely in a lot of snack foods. What was nice for me to see was like a resurgence in the roasted pulses. So like
Ah,
roasted chickpeas,
oh, okay.
lots of roasted edamame,
Love
which
that.
I don't know if that's considered a pulse technically, but it's in the
It's
family, you
it's
know.
a soybean. Okay, well, it's
Yes.
a bean of some sort. Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
So there's definitely a resurgence towards that just as a non-nut crunchy snack and
And I,
tons of flavors, lots of innovation
And I
there.
love that because I've always been a fan of roasted chickpeas, roasted edamame, because besides getting protein, which we're going to get to, discussing, but you also get fiber. So it is, I mean, hey, I think
Yep.
we agree. The idea of using pulses, the idea of drawing attention to pulses is wonderful, but I think the consumer still needs to look at the entire package, see what else is in there, and don't get fooled because it is saying it's more plant based, which is yay. We want everyone to eat more plants, but we also want to be cognitive of what else is coming along with that plant.
Absolutely. I totally agree. It's interesting you mentioned that too, because one trend I saw at the show was a lot of products going back to basics. And we'll talk through that with some other categories as well. But you're seeing a lot of brands realizing that the consumers are becoming smarter, right? Like you're out shopping and you're looking at ingredients now, and maybe you're becoming a nutrition sleuth, right?
Right.
And so I think there you're seeing the products really get a little bit, using the word cleaned up, but a little bit simpler with the ingredient list and a little bit more back to basics.
Right, right. All right. So the next one, I think, I mean, this could be a whole episode, and I'm probably going to do an episode on it. I mean, it's funny. I've done 2 episodes already on protein, and I think it's time for another because it's like everywhere you go, everybody's protein, protein, protein. So I think protein rich products now are everywhere. It's like promoting it has this amount, many grams of protein, and making the consumer think that they need way more than they actually need. But that's why that's a whole nother podcast episode. But are we overdoing it in the beverages, in the snack space? Do you feel like you saw a lot of this? Was this again a good move, or perhaps slightly taken a little too far?
Protein is definitely the macronutrient of the moment. We put that in our Good Housekeeping Trends report actually in January. And you're seeing it in everything. I mean, things it's really not supposed to be in as well.
Like water? Is it in water?
Like water, for instance. It's in water, absolutely. Chips, And what's interesting is I think some people really love that, but ultimately what I appreciate about the protein trend is that some of these ancient foods are now becoming viral. So like cottage cheese or labneh, like things that actually are naturally high protein foods that actually have some gut health benefits too, are resurging. So that I'm all pro for. Then there's some innovative products, like I'm sure you've seen the protein oats. That's just a type of oat. It's not protein. It's not oats with protein added to it, right? So it's like a species of oat. And that's a really great way to amp up your breakfast.
I've not heard of this. There's a species of oats now that has more protein. Because, I mean, I'm a huge oatmeal fan, but oatmeal does not have a lot of protein. And whenever somebody's having oatmeal for breakfast, I'm like, well, where are you getting your protein? What are you adding to that bowl? So there's an oatmeal now with more protein?
Yes. So Bob's Red Mill makes something called protein oats. And again, you would think, oh, they are adding whey protein to it or pea protein. No, it's just oats, just a type of oat that's grown in a specific area.
Oh my God.
And it has significantly more protein than regular. Right. So I love that just as a way to level up your breakfast.
Yes.
So that's a positive oat trend.
Right.
But then you're seeing whey protein and pea protein being added to everything from, like you said, water to chips to puffs to ice cream.
Right. And I think it goes back to our point with the pulses is that you need to see what all the other ingredients are, because even though it might now be in a chip, and I like the idea of getting a more balanced snack, but if that chip now just has a tons of sodium and you need to watch your sodium in your diet, then that might not be a smart move. Or if it has a lot of added saturated fat, then that might not be a good move. So I know and that's where it gets so complicated. I mean, the consumer, it's confusing. And yes, I love that you said people are becoming a more educated. They're learning what to look for. But I always feel like, why should it have to be so confusing? Again,
Yeah.
another
And
podcast.
also, right. Are these products, replacing naturally high protein whole foods in your diet? Then that's not a good thing, right? Of course, they're convenient. They can be a convenient portable option, but they shouldn't be replacing high protein whole foods.
Like I love, like you said, cottage cheese. I mean, yes, one of the best, cottage cheese. And I mean, I do think some protein could be helpful being added in certain ways for those who are following, let's say, a vegan diet, but because they're not that we only need animal-based foods for protein, let's just be clear, but sometimes maybe they're not having cottage cheese or they're not having yogurt. It gets a little trickier for some, not to say that it can't be done without any of these snack products with added protein.
Right.
But I think, once again, more is not better in this case. I mean, I didn't say that, but more is not better. So where they're adding protein, maybe you're getting ample protein elsewhere, or to your point, getting it in Whole Foods. So
right,
it's one of these, I just think, marketing trends also, don't you? That people are just jumping on the bandwagon. The consumer wants it. It's all over social media, protein, protein, protein. So let's just add it to whatever we can.
Yeah. And also, is that enabling you to eat too much of it, even in excess, as it has this health halo around it, right? So that's another component of it. Again, like you said, look at the ingredients, be investigative and try and understand, well, where's the protein coming from here? And if it sounds too good to be true, most likely it is.
Yeah, we know that, right? Anything that's too good to be true. All right, moving on. All right, they're all so important. All right, so GLP, which are the anti-obesity medications for those who might not know, GLP-inspired products. So since we know GLPs are so popular, I feel that products are now taking advantage of this. And I don't know if they're either saying it's the new GLP. So it's like, oh, you don't need to take the drug. You can eat our product and get the same benefits. Or, because that's scary, or are they saying, which would be actually useful, well, if you're on GLPs, this product can be useful because, yes, it's not going to fill you up too much, but it's going to give you protein, it's going to give you fiber, it's going to give you nutrients you need. So there's two different things, ones that are pretending to do the same job and those that are helping you along that journey. Did you see both or one more than the other?
I definitely saw both. And I think, unfortunately, they're kind of being used interchangeably. They're not the same. I think people are throwing out the phrase GLP-1 and people are associating it with weight loss. And they're just saying, oh, this is going to help me lose weight. But people don't understand. Your body makes GLP-1. Your body literally makes it. It's a hormone. It's made in your gut. It plays a really important role in regulating your blood sugar, your appetite. I think people think that just Ozempic is providing this to the body, and it's not.
Right.
Like, I'm really curious to hear what the average, listener or reader thinks this stuff is. And ultimately, what improves GLP-1? A healthy diet, healthy exercise, not too much, healthy. It's not rocket science. High fiber foods, high protein foods. Like, these are foods that we should have been eating all along. Right. And then there are, of course, things that can, obviously negatively impact GLP-1 levels in the body. So there is a lot of marketing around GLP-1 just because it's gotten so crazy right now. And I think ultimately try and just look, what is the food itself? What is in the food itself? What do the nutrition facts look like to determine if it's a healthy part of your diet?
Period.
That's plain and simple.
Right. So if you are on an anti-obesity medication, it's not like you now need to look for specific foods that mention GLP on it. And if you're not on an anti-obesity medication, it also doesn't mean now, oh, if I want to lose weight, maybe I need to look at these products that mention GLP. I mean, it's
right.
It's like, yeah, I wish that the marketers were not using that word. I like the idea of promoting healthy eating with it, 100%, but it doesn't seem like that's what they're doing here.
I think it just is, it sounds sexy to people, or
Right.
maybe scientific sexy, and people think, oh, this is so cool. It's something new. And then you'll watch people do these videos of their GLP-1 diets, and it's a healthy diet. That's
Right.
really what it should be. It's just healthy foods. I think we're all trying to decipher, oh, maybe it's something crazy I should be adding to my diet to lose 20 pounds.
Right.
And that's not how it
No,
works.
because we're always looking for that silver bullet. Anywho,
Yeah.
okay. This is an interesting one. Natural sugars versus low calorie sweeteners. And I prefer to call them low calorie. I know a lot of people know them as artificial sweeteners. I don't even like to use that term. So I think a lot of brands might be shifting towards what they're going to call healthier sugar options, and that's debatable because I mean and my listeners know that I am not against low calorie sweeteners. I put Splenda in my iced coffee every day. So I'm not sitting here saying, "Oh my god, we need to get rid of low calorie sweeteners," because I'm not. But I think a lot of brands are shifting more what we'll say natural sugars, and I don't know. I mean, I think in some instances, maybe that is a good thing. And I'm putting good in quotes because I hate to say good or bad when it comes to foods. And maybe I'm overthinking it. But is this transition actually going to be beneficial? People saying they're using these natural sugars, or could this also be another way that maybe we're steering the consumer a little wrong?
I saw a really mixed bag of this at Expo. You saw some products that are still using things like sucralose, right? Then you saw some products that are using allulose, right? All the oses. Then you saw some products that are using date sugar or beet sugar. So it was really all over the place. You have some products using a mix of that and cane sugar. What's interesting to me about the alternative sweeteners is I always look to see how many times sweeter are they than actual sugar, right? So sucralose, for example, I think it's like 600 times sweeter than regular sugar. So I think about what is that doing to our taste buds, right? Like chemically. I mean, if you're having a little bit in your coffee, that's no big deal. There is a time and a place for these things. And also dental hygiene. I'm a big dental hygiene person. And so that
I didn't know
comes
that.
into play.
Is that why your teeth look so nice and white? I didn't know.
Years of braces. Okay. My poor parents. But so that is something to think about. Then you think about allulose, right? Or some of these things that come from, natural foods, let's say. I mean, technically, shouldn't all these things be coming from foods? Allulose is less sweet than regular sugar. So that's something that intrigues me. I also feel like, though, it's still new, and some allulose things have a little bit of an aftertaste, or they just don't taste right. So I ultimately think it comes down to your health goals. What are you trying to accomplish in your life? If you're trying to wean off some of the artificial or the alternative sweeteners and go for simple cane sugar, a little bit of the real stuff, I think it's fine. But if it tastes absolutely terrible, like, what's the point? Also thinking about, what are these things in, right? What kind of products are
Well, isn't that
typically
ultimately
really
what we need to be looking
Yeah.
at? We also need to be looking at the total diet. It's not just pointing to one ingredient, one food. What else are you eating? I mean, yes, if I was eating sucralose and everything all day, it would be like, wait a second, what are you doing? Like, where are your fruits and vegetables? And where are your 100% whole grains? Blah blah blah. So it's not as simple as that. But I think that what concerns me is that when companies come out and they're using like a beet sugar or a date sugar. I mean, I love that, but let's not fool the consumer. It's still sugar. And we need to watch our sugar intake, because science does show us that too much added sugar, again, added, causes inflammation in the body. And that should be the ultimate concern. So whether it's from beets, whether it's cane, whether it's dates, what products are we having, and how much total added sugar are we having a day? And I think that should be what people are concentrating on the most.
Right. These aren't health foods. And looking at organic sugar is still sugar. Beet sugar is still sugar. Date sugar is still sugar, right? And it's interesting you bring this up, because for Valentine's Day, right, my daughter, I got her whole class, the organic candies, right? And so we had extras. So we're home, and I'm like, oh, I can give her a couple of these. They're organic, even myself thinking this.
Right.
And I look at the added sugar on the back and I'm like, this is just the same as if I'm giving her some other regular brand of candy,
Well,
right?
yes.
So
yes.
it's the health halo effect of it being organic or healthier. We think we can eat more. And ultimately, it does still have to be,
Right. And
you know,
everything
enjoyed
at
in
Expo
moderation.
West, everything at Expo West is organic, correct? Right.
I'm pretty sure all of it's natural products.
Oh.
Is everything organic? No, but
Okay.
I don't think they allow like artificial food dyes.
All right.
We can triple check that on their website.
Okay.
But all of it is, you know, leaning towards natural, better for you, health products, wellness based.
Right. Okay. I mean, it's just so funny with the candy thing. I remember my husband went through a stage where he was really into licorice. And he used to buy this one brand and he'd say to me, but Keri, it's organic. And I'm like, my God, how many years have you lived with me? No, it's still licorice.
It might as well be kale. It might as well be a carrot.
It's still licorice and it still has added sugar and yes, no, whatever. Anyway, okay.
So funny.
So here's another one, which is kind of funny because I just did on Instagram making fun of the newest alternative milk and it was coming from a cockroach. So I don't know if you saw this yet. So yes, it's
No.
been all over social that milk from a cockroach, believe it or not, has more protein than cow's milk. I mean, are we that desperate? Oh, you're going to have to look into it, Stephanie, after we're done taping here. So, but it's so apropos to my next question is about alternative milks. And it used to, I mean, originally it was soy, then it was almond, then it was oat, then it was macadamia. Now, I mean, there's so many. So I'm wondering what else came out. Is there anything new that you saw? Any other milks? I mean, I gather cockroach milk hasn't made it there. But other than that, like what did you see in this category?
I didn't see cockroach milk.
Oh,
I'm
thank
sure I'll
God.
be there next year. But I did see pistachio milk. I did see pecan or pecan milk. Chia milk is another newer one.
Oh, that I haven't seen.
Yeah.
So pecan or pecan,
Yeah.
however you pronounce it, pistachio, that I've seen, but I did not see chia. Interesting. I would think it would be very
Yeah.
thick, right? Because when you add liquid to chia, it gets thicker.
Yes, it was a good consistency.
Huh,
It also
interesting.
had a decent amount of protein. What's interesting about the plant-based milks, I was just thinking about it the other day, just how they have really evolved. They've had like 9 lives and they have surged in like the 2010s. And it's funny because that's sort of when I started incorporating them more into my diet. And then when I had children, when you become a parent or a grandparent, you become a major consumer of milk is something that's dawned on me. I mean, we are buying so much milk for our kids.
Right.
And it really did make me look at milk in a whole new way and say, wow, this is really actually a complete food beverage. And even when I give my child juice versus milk, I see a behavioral difference
Interesting.
immediately, right? Which is so
That is
interesting. Like if I'm
interesting.
giving her juice, she goes off the wall. If I give her milk, she's a little more mellow. Okay.
No, that might be. Wait a second. That just might be.
It could just be me.
Yes, I'm just saying. I don't want anyone to think out there that juice
cracking
causes
me
that
up.
versus milk. I think this
It
is.
doesn't.
I think
It
this
doesn't.
is a Sassos trait. But anyway,
Absolutely.
But it is interesting the way you're looking at milk. And does that
Yeah.
then make you think that some of these alternatives? I mean, there's no one size fits all, and we're all different. We have different bodies, we have different needs based on so many factors in our lives. But does this make you think like, well, wait a second, if I'm giving my child an alternative milk instead of cow's milk, are they missing out on certain nutrients?
Definitely. Cow's milk is, like I said, it has a really robust nutritional profile. And I think as an adult, you know, you can really use both of these things in your diet. It doesn't have to be all
Right.
or nothing.
Right.
Right. For example, I like almond milk in my smoothie because it's basically like a little bit creamier than water, but not too creamy. Right. And it gives the right consistency.
Right.
Again, though, it's with this health halo effect, people are misled that plant-based milks have a ton of protein. Most of them don't. Most barely have a gram of protein.
Right. Now, interesting. Are any of the brands adding protein Did you see that based on, because that's always been my thing. And I don't do smoothies, but for me, iced coffee has to be soy milk. I don't know. It has to. Oh, and I will confess right here, it has to be sweetened. Right. I don't want unsweetened soy milk. I want sweetened soy milk because that's how I enjoy my iced coffee. And it's not the end of the world, but I've always felt, at least with my soy milk, I'm getting some protein, and I do like the sweetness, whatever. But now I lost my entire train of thought because I was off talking about my iced coffee, which kind of
Are they adding protein to the plant-based milks?
Thank you. Are they?
Yes. Yes. So they're adding soy, they're adding pea. I saw a lot of that. I'm also seeing blends of different things now, a lot of like hybrid blends, right? So with a nut, with maybe an oat milk kind of blended together for different consistency. And I think there must have been people complaining about the consistency of plant-based milks because now all you're seeing is barista blend that foams and it's thick and creamy. Right. So the texture is important too, right?
Right. I don't know. The barista blends. I'll leave that to the baristas. I am not whipping up a latte or a cappuccino at home. I'm just not. All right. I did have an espresso machine once, which just sat there. And then I was like, why do I even have this taking up counter space? Makes absolutely no sense.
I love it.
All right. So alternative milks were definitely out there. Doesn't seem like that much change in that space.
What I will say that I did see was these milks are definitely shortening their ingredient lists.
Okay.
They're taking out some of the emulsifiers. They're taking out some of the thickeners, the stabilizers, because I think people are turning the labels around and seeing, why does my plant-based milk have a laundry list of ingredients and my regular milk has 1 or 2 ingredients in it, right?
Yeah.
So now there's a couple brands like that are doing almond milk with just, what is it, like filtered almonds, water, and salt. That's it. And that's really what it should be.
Right.
But it's hard shelf life with that.
Right. Well, that's all the thing.
Quickly.
I mean, we know that, and we know emulsifiers, thickeners, some of the, I mean, safe. It's not like they're not safe for consumption.
Right.
But for those who are looking at the ingredient list and being like, well, I don't really need to see, I mean, there's nothing wrong with these companies removing them. I mean, I'm not going to say, oh no, put them back in. And especially if it's making some consumers feel better.
Definitely.
In a healthy way. You know, I'm not all for making the consumer feel better if it's going down the wrong path. So let's just be clear. All right. This one, rings near and dear to me, being that I am the fractional chief nutrition officer for VSL Probiotics, as we know. But prebiotics and probiotics, they're everywhere, correct? Are they still and
everywhere.
I'm not talking about just in supplements. They're in foods, but also being like added into foods, not naturally occurring. So are there two things being either touted that they're there, like, oh my God, we have natural probiotics or natural prebiotics? Are there products that are out there also adding to them and saying, look what we now have? So what did you see in this space?
A ton of prebiotics and probiotics being added to foods. So of course you have the natural pre and probiotic foods. So think, the different yogurts, and it's interesting. They're not really touting that so much, but you're seeing all these beverages, all like the soda alternatives, not just prebiotics, also probiotics as well, which is interesting to me. I still don't fully get it, but I do understand that there is a place for those, especially for people who are really addicted to soda and trying to maybe choose something healthier. Right. You're also seeing it in bars. I saw it a lot in baby food, which is really interesting.
See,
I don't know how I feel about it.
Yeah, here would be my question. I mean, one, with probiotics, there's so much research that on strains. So I'd be curious what strains they're actually adding, if those strains are doing anything. And more importantly, what people don't realize is that just because something has probiotics, it doesn't mean once you ingest it that it survives your stomach acid. So I'd be curious if they added it to a bar, let's say. Do we know, has that company tested? They might have added probiotics, but do we know if those probiotics are still living after it goes through our digestive tract? I mean, once it winds up in the stomach acid, because not all do. And that's where I think the consumer is being kind of misled if they see, I mean, it's one of these buzzwords, probiotics. I mean, yes, there's so many benefits, but just because it's added to something doesn't mean you're actually going to, it's not going to harm you, but you might be buying it for a benefit that you're actually not going to receive.
Exactly. Are you spending money and you're assuming you're going to be getting some sort of benefit and it's not happening? 1,000%. It's interesting too, also with the prebiotics and the probiotics added to baby foods or kids' foods. I think parents, being a parent myself, are so desperate for their kids to have healthy poops that we're willing to do anything. And so we just hear, oh, it's prebiotic, probiotic. It's got to be good for their gut and their poop. Okay, we'll try it, right? Without really looking at, is anyone looking at the strains? Exactly. That's such a great point. The efficacy. It was interesting too, even when sourdough is also having a huge moment. And, once sourdough is cooked, like you do still have lactic acid, yes, but you're not getting those live probiotics. I think there's a lot of confusion around things like that.
And when I say strain, I mean, it's also, that's why I personally always promote a multi-strain, because this way you're not just getting one that might not be doing anything. You're getting a whole variety that could together synergistically be very beneficial for your gut. All right. And then with the sodas, which makes me then think, like, what's happening in that space? So besides sodas, where energy drinks, I mean, is that still a big category?
Yes, both of those. There's such a huge saturation. There's so much competition in both of those categories, which leads me to believe that people must really be drinking these things, right? And they're thinking it's a healthier choice. It's interesting with the soda, you're just basically seeing each and every single brand trying to do the same flavor, but in their own unique way, and do a cute packaging and say ours is better. And some brands do have efficacy. It was interesting what you were saying. Some brands are studying to see, okay, is that surviving, right? When it's going through your body, is it going to give you that full benefit? Others are just, putting out a lot of misinformation. Even like apple cider vinegar doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be getting, I'm sure you have very many thoughts on this, right?
But did you?
It's not immediate.
Was that out there? Was there a lot, or was that just in supplement form? Apple cider vinegar.
No, apple cider vinegar and a lot of the beverages and a ton of the sodas especially. And then you mentioned the energy drinks, which is really interesting that people are looking for healthy energy drinks. And I don't want to attack those people, right? Or make them feel they're trying to make a healthier choice. I get it. And you're trying to make a better choice with what you're doing. But no energy drink is healthy. Okay. Some are definitely a little bit better than others. There's also natural caffeine versus synthetic caffeine. There's all different things. I did a whole piece on this for Good Housekeeping. You could look that up.
Well,
and
we could always share anything, Stephanie, that we've discussed that you want. We'll put it in the show notes. So any links to any articles that will kind of follow up with what we've been talking about would be great for my listener. Did you see, and this is even confusing for me, and I actually had to look it up. This is why, I'm always learning, is
Keri had to look it up.
All right. Besides just,
I definitely don't know what it is then.
No, you totally do. And I'm going to say, usually I'm too busy Googling. All right. I'm going so off track now, but Googling like an actor in a show. Where do I know that actor from? Busy Googling all right, whatever. I got sidelined. I don't know what made me just think of that. But nootropics and adaptogens. Those I know. And it's the kind of thing I know I've looked up oh my God, I can't even pronounce it. Adaptogens, if I'm saying it correctly. I know I've looked those up before, but I get very confused about these two compounds. I'm going to call them compounds that are now also being put into drinks. And I'm not even sure why. Why are they being put in there? It's for cognition? Is that it?
Yeah, the nootropics specifically for cognition, and they're saying memory and focus and this is that. And then the adaptogens.
I'm not taking them because I can't remember. Go on.
And then the adaptogens more for like stress. And it's interesting because again, there's not really tons of literature around this stuff. I mean, there's certain adaptogens like ashwagandha, for instance, and there is quite a bit of literature on ashwagandha, believe it or not,
Okay.
and dosing and things like that. You're seeing these added to a lot of mocktails, not just energy drinks, right?
So a mocktail, are you saying that, then explain, because a mocktail, when I think mocktail, I'm thinking of a creation like you would for a cocktail, just without the alcohol. So with individual ingredients. So they can actually add this as an individual, like you would add like a bitter herb.
Yes, or even at like you would fortify with a vitamin or something like that, right? So you'll see, like remember the Sleepy Girl mocktail, which was that cherry and the whole concoction people were making before bed? Like you're
Yes.
seeing some of these
Okay.
sleepy mocktails, which is basically sugar water, more or less. It's
Okay.
like seltzer with some sort of sweetener in it. And then maybe they're adding some sort of flavoring to it. And then they'll put in some sort of nootropic, maybe even like L-theanine, which does have some efficacy to it, right?
Okay.
But then there are some that you've never heard of that might be synthetic, who knows? So that's the interesting thing, is not overdoing this stuff, also seeing how it makes you feel. I think that's the other thing too, for people that are going for a mocktail. Okay, you're not going to get a buzz, so maybe you're getting this other feeling from these things.
Right.
So again, don't overdo it. I think you can incorporate it in moderation.
But are you
ultimately,
saying, Stephanie, are you saying then here, so these adaptogens, I think I got that right, there's possibly, there is some promising research. So this might not be crazy to see appearing in certain foods, promoting, I should say, certain benefits. But the jury's still out.
yes, there's definitely research. For example, ashwagandha, like I mentioned, there's a ton of good research on ashwagandha. The form that they're putting it into a mocktail,
Right, the amount, the dose. So
The
so
amount,
the
the
research,
dose.
the form, okay, so very good point. And also then, so the research might be on X amount of the quantity, the dosage, and yet what you're actually getting in
Right.
this drink might not. And you're paying this money for it, and it might not make any difference. And same with, then what is an actual example of a nootropic? Do you know?
L-theanine's
Okay.
an example.
Okay.
That's just one that you'll see them touting in a lot of things. There's all these ones associated with memory and focus. Some of the names are not things that would be familiar to you, but you'll see it on the label. They'll just put nootropics and adaptogens. You have no idea what it is.
Right.
It sounds interesting.
And it sounds interesting, and individuals are going to be drawn to it. All right. So it seems
Exactly.
like quite the interesting show. Was there anything that I missed that really you're like, oh, if Keri only mentioned this, because this was everywhere? Good or bad?
I ate so much plant-based meat. I
Oh,
had every
okay.
plant-based meat under the sun. I don't ever want to have a plant-based meat again. No. It's interesting. The innovation in the plant-based meat space is insane.
Okay.
I mean, it was incredible to see the ingredients they're using. It's not just like pea protein anymore. There's some really interesting things. It's not just soy, right? But at the same time, you're also seeing this like resurgence of animal protein, specifically regenerative animal protein, which basically means that, this is benefiting the earth, the way that they are raising these animals, right? So it's funny that these two trends are gaining traction at the same momentum, right? Like you're seeing more plant-based meat than ever, and also plant-based meat that's better quality. So better ingredients, because I think that people have been giving the ingredients on some of these meat alternatives a lot of skepticism.
Right.
And then you're seeing some of these really high quality animal proteins between liver, beef, but like raised in wonderful ways and really good agricultural practices. You're also seeing like beef. I saw beef tallow.
Oh, no.
I mean, all
oh my
these.
God, no.
Yeah. Beef towel in the big tubs.
Okay.
And it has some really cool packaging on it.
Like, has no one heard, have they not heard about saturated fat? All right.
Yes.
But I love this whole discussion about it going in both ways, plant and animal. We know, at least I feel we should know, and we being society, that plant-based is a good option. and that we should be eating more plants. But it doesn't mean we need to be excluding animal. And I think there's place for both. And I'll never forget, I don't even know what company it was, it doesn't matter, but meeting with a company doing plant-based protein once, and they said to me, well, this is going to taste just like chicken. And I was like, but I don't like chicken. I don't want it to taste like chicken. I want it to have its own great taste. So I wish that, and I don't know if you were finding this, that they weren't so busy comparing it to, oh, chicken, or it's going to taste like beef, but how about it just has a great taste? And that can encourage individuals to eat it purely because of the taste.
You're definitely seeing both. So you're seeing some of these plant-based brands trying to replicate hot dogs, sausage, burgers, chicken. Exactly. I even saw one plant-based kafta, which was amazing, like a plant-based lamb kafta. It was incredible. It tasted very similar to the real thing.
Wow.
So for someone like me, who's, I consider us to be flexitarians, right? We incorporate high quality meat in our diet, but we're not exclusively plant-based. But for me, I don't mind something like that. But then I have a friend who's vegan who will not touch any of these things because it grosses her out. It's too similar to the real thing, right? Then you're seeing some brands that are embracing just whole plants and making it something that's not a replica, right, of a meat protein. So you're definitely seeing both. There's more options than ever now, which is really nice, because I feel like 10, 20 years ago, you could only get maybe 1 or 2 varieties of veggie burgers and they tasted really bad.
Yes.
And there's so much innovation now and so much variety that you can incorporate both. It doesn't have to be so polarizing to just be one or the other.
That's promising. I like that. Did you walk away from Expo West optimistic about where our world is going as far as food, or a little skeptic, or a little bit of both?
A little bit of both. I think definitely more optimistic than the previous time I had gone, just because I'm seeing better ingredient lists, a little bit more nutrition transparency, especially in certain sectors like the baby food. It's become so competitive there. You're seeing brands showing their heavy metal testing. That's part of legislation now, but showing their heavy metal testing and things like that in California. So that's interesting. But again, you will never get rid of some of these marketing tactics, and some of them just drive me crazy because they're so misleading. And even us as, dietetic professionals have trouble understanding them. How do we expect
the consumer,
the average shopper?
Well, that's my final question is, how can the consumer, and we've spoken about all these different trends, and they're sure to wind up, not all of them, but good share of them will wind up at their supermarket, their local supermarket. How do they know? Like, what can they do to be sure that they're not roped in to spending extra money on products that are really not as healthy as they think?
I am such a proponent of a whole food diet. Try and incorporate as much whole food, and obviously so are you, right? But of course it's hard. We need packaged goods just for our everyday lives, right?
No judgment.
So when you are reaching,
no judgment.
Convenience
is important.
A very large component of my diet is packaged foods, right? Because they're convenient. However, you don't have to, but you should. It's so important and imperative to be an informed consumer. Like, you're spending your money on these things. You should know what you're putting into your body. Turn the label around, look at the ingredients, look at the nutrition facts. Just try and use common sense. And if it does sound too good to be true, it probably is. Have a discerning eye.
Right.
Reach out to a dietitian, someone who's a qualified healthcare professional. And also, the last thing I'll say is, don't believe everything you hear on social media. Don't believe every celebrity touting
raw milk.
If a celebrity is touting, if a celebrity is touting a nutritional, benefit of something and they have no nutrition degree, you should certainly ask questions and be inquisitive.
Yes.
And maybe have a more discerning eye.
Exactly. Well put. And I think I could go on forever discussing this with you. And maybe one of these years I will make it to Expo West and we'll go together.
I would love that. Be a dream come true.
Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you. This is great.